everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Stranger Than Fiction, the 2006 fantasy comedy drama that I feel like does not get the credit it deserves and should be seen by pretty much anybody who likes a good quirky film or an imaginative film or a movie with things to say and characters that you're going to enjoy and fall for. I really love this movie. I think it is fantastically made. I think the cast does a great job in it, and the story is really interesting, and personally has one of the best endings of film I can remember. And I know that that might be a controversial take, because I do know a lot of people who do not enjoy the ending of this film, but I have a completely different perspective on this. Starring Will Ferrell, for those of you who don't know what this movie is about, he basically plays a character that you find out is being written by somebody else. So throughout the early part of this film, you see him kind of living his life, and there's voiceover of everything that he's doing, and whatever the voiceover says, that's what he's doing. And at first, it's kind of one of those things where you just feel like if it's just a movie that has voiceover. There's lots of movies that have voiceover that explain what the character is doing. I mean, even another movie he made, Elf, has a lot of voiceover where it's his father explaining the guy's life story, and you just at first blush, if you do not know what this movie is about, you're just going to take it that way. But it turns out that there's actually a writer out there who's writing a book of his life story, and whatever she writes, he does. And I think that's really cool. And all of a sudden, partway through the movie, she says, and he's gonna die in X amount of time after he starts hearing her explain his life. Her voiceover, all of a sudden he can hear it, and then she reveals he's gonna die, and he just absolutely panics because he's in fear of his life, and he reacts, and he goes out there, he tracks her down, and he tries to figure out what to do about it. And I think she says it's a week before he's about to die, and over the film he meets a lot of people. The only person that's not wrapped up in the story of him figuring out that he is going to die and that he's a fictional character is a character played by Maggie Gyllenhaal, who is his love interest, and I think gives one of the most stellar performances in this movie. When you first get introduced to her, she's this really angry baker who just absolutely hates him because of his job. He works for the IRS, and when he's there, it means that her life can be, really damaged. So she's furious at him, but throughout the rest of the film, you discover that she's this very interesting and compelling person who is very passionate about life, and really the opposite of him, because he has lived such a humdrum life up until this moment, and then he realizes that he needs to, beyond just try to figure out what's happening to him, also try to live a more fulfilling life. She's a major part of that. A gorgeous woman for sure, Maggie Gyllenhaal. She's somebody that you can completely understand him really remaking his life to be with, but at the same time, she doesn't carry herself with this like gravitas or anything like that. She's just living the moment, and isn't there to be his savior either. So it's really interesting relationship that I think adds a lot to this film. And then you have Emma Thompson. She's the woman who plays the writer. She's very sad and depressed and struggling with the writing, and she finds out that she has this kind of godlike power over him, that it's very interesting, and how she reacts and how she feels like she can't keep going, and she, like I said, she knows she is going to kill off this character, so that's the emotional toll that takes on her is massive, and I think she does just a phenomenal job in this movie, and really I feel like there's nobody else who could have been better in it, because she really plays all the emotion of the character, the ups and the downs, and she's very successful, but also doesn't feel like she should be, and just the way in which she plays such a complicated and fascinating character is fantastic. And Dustin Hoffman is in this movie, and of course, I mean, who doesn't like seeing Dustin Hoffman on film? Yes, he's made some stinkers over the years for sure, Little Fockers, I'm Looking at You, but he's also just a phenomenal actor, and he's basically like a literary kind of person. He's very well informed about the type of stories that are out there, and Will Ferrell goes to him to try to understand what's happening to him, and he explains to Will Ferrell like the type of story that he's in and what's likely to happen to him. And I think that's really, really interesting, and as a result there's a lot of kind of analysis of storytelling in this movie that I think is really, really cool, because you know, obviously as a film watcher I enjoy stories, so it's really cool to have a character that's just right on screen, that's really kind of brass tacks about the type of stories that we watch and why they're effective and how the effect that they have on us. I think that was really, really cool. And then you have Queen Latifah in a very small role as basically somebody who works for the publishing company that Emma Thompson is employed by, and she's there to ensure that she keeps working and finishes her book. So she's basically like the tug of war in Emma Thompson's life. It's between Will Ferrell when she finds out that the character that she's been writing actually exists, and that she writes to the ending of the book that she'll be killing him, but at the same time there's this woman who's there that keeps reminding her of her professional responsibilities. And so I thought that she really added an interesting element to the story as well. I really, really dig the characters that this movie created, because all of them have such an integral part of the story, and all the actors do a great job. But for me, this movie comes down to its ending. As great as the body of the film is, I absolutely enjoy this ending. Now, I'm going to talk about this ending, so this is definitely a spoiler, and if you haven't seen this movie and you're interested in seeing it, you definitely don't want to watch this, so go check it out and maybe come back. But this movie has the kind of the cookie cutter happy ending, where she decides that she's not going to write him dying. She writes him having a happily ever after. And I saw this movie with another person who was very disappointed, felt like it was a complete cop-out, because right at the beginning they set up that he was going to die, and that was complete BS. And I had the exact opposite take, and here's why. You have Dustin Hoffman there, and he's throughout the entire film kind of talking about how the story takes place and how it'll be a betrayal if she doesn't get killed, and then, or he doesn't get killed, I should say. And then after she writes that he's going to survive, you have this moment with Dustin Hoffman and her talking, and essentially he's, you know, there kind of banging the drum that what she did was, you know, a betrayal of the written word and all of that. And I can completely understand that perspective for sure. We've all read books or seen movies where all of a sudden there's this tacked on happy ending that just feels completely false, and so that first blush, that might be your reaction, and I think that's almost everybody who I've ever talked to about this movie's reaction to that ending. But for me, I thought it was the exact opposite, because you have Emma Thompson there, and essentially what I get out of the ending is she's defending the happy ending, and it's really, really interesting, because she's essentially putting forward the idea that why is it that all of a sudden having a happy ending at a movie that looks like it's going to go one way and all of a sudden things work out, why is that inherently worse? Yes, there are definitely circumstances where you do feel like it's a cop-out, and they just didn't have the guts to go down that road. But at the same time, what is it in us that it just seems to feel like the everything working out story is somehow false and unrealistic? And yes, we all realize that, you know, life doesn't always have happy endings, for sure, but at the same time things do work out for people sometimes too, and to have that on film isn't inherently, you know, bad. It's not necessarily a cop-out. Sometimes stories make sense that they end up in a positive manner, and just because you were expecting them to go another way doesn't mean that you are the arbiter of how that story should have ended. And just because the writer told a story that has a positive ending doesn't mean that he's necessarily copped out either. And I think that was a really interesting perspective, and it really kind of made me, at the very least, reflect on how, you know, I devour films and what I'm looking for in a movie. So I really felt that was fantastic. And the other thing too is, even sometimes where it is kind of a cop-out, where it doesn't necessarily make 100% sense, sometimes it's just nice. Sometimes it's just nice to see things work out for a character that you've been involved with, even if it doesn't feel completely honest. Who cares? Just enjoy the moment sometimes. You know, if this is a big movie with something to say and has really tackled subjects with care and has a tacked on happy ending, then yeah, I can see why that can feel like a betrayal sometimes. But sometimes just go with it. And especially if it's, you know, not a movie that necessarily was going for having a lot to say about life. So those are my thoughts on this film. I really, really, really enjoy it, and I love the ending. And I would love to hear from people who saw this movie and felt the opposite way, what they think about my take on the ending. Because again, like I said, I have spoken to a number of people who felt like the ending was a betrayal. I don't see it that way at all. So those are my thoughts. Please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that other people will come check out this video and let me know what they think, which is something I absolutely love, because I love talking about people about movies. And beyond that, please hit that subscription button, hit that notification bell if you haven't yet. It'll let you know when I put out a new video, and you can come let me know what you think. Other than that, have yourself a good day.